What's the deal, pickles? All right. Today is something a little bit different. This is one of the ideas that I had in mind when I thought about coming back to YouTube that feels like it fits in my life. It fits in with the things that I like to share, and we get to chat it up. I get to share what I'm working on, maybe give you some ideas, maybe tell you a little bit how I think, and all of the above. And this is one of them. I will tell you all about this after the introduction. This is for quilters. As always, don't forget, grab your project, grab a beverage of choice, put up your feet or put in your headphones. This is a great one for headphones. I personally like listening to people's shows or videos while I'm moving about, and this is one of those. This is the beginning of a project. I'm now in the season of creating where I just don't have the time to start, finish a project. I have projects that it will just take a while, and what I have deemed this as is essentially, it's not about getting things done. It's about my quiet time, my peace, being able to craft and listen to audiobooks, etc. So I'm not in a hurry. And it's why a lot of the videos and content slow down, because it's over time. Well, in this video, I'm showing you how I choose the projects, how I adapt them, and there will be another part to this in the future, but this is the setup. In the description box, you're going to see links and resources if you decide you would like to do this particular quilt, which is called Dots and Dashes. I did not make the quilt. The link to where to find it free online is in the description box, but I'll tell you all about that after the introduction. Let me know if y'all still down with the introduction. I'm gonna still throw it in because I think it's cute and it just is a whole vibe. With that said, if you're sticking around, I'll see you after the introduction. If not, don't forget to thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. If you want more videos like this, let me know. If you're a scrappy quilter, let me know some of your favorite scrappy quilts according to kind of what you'll see inside of this video, because I am looking for very specific things, but I am looking for a variety. With that said, I will see you after the intro. Get ready for a hefty one, and I'd love your comments about whether this format is something that you like. It's almost like a vlog slash podcast slash talking head approach, and it was kind of cool. So I'll see you guys soon, and at the end of this video. Talk to you soon. Let's go. Idea about going through and working on projects that only uses my stash, and you see this a lot about shop your stash. Some people go on a no spend sort of challenge, and I started this whole thing during the panty, so we're going to just say it that way. And honestly, maybe even was that year. And what I quickly learned is that I could keep sewing projects, and it felt as if my stash was not going anywhere. And so over the past year or so, I've been on the hunt for different patterns that I felt were scrappy friendly. I am learning quickly that I love scrappy quilts. Really, really love scrappy quilts. But here's the thing. I don't like always the scrappy look. So I really like projects that are either have this scrappy element, so it allows me to use any fabrics I can put my hands on, with some sort of solid background or consistent background color that can kind of calm down the busyness of having so many options. Another thing about scrappy quilts that I realize is that I still like it to be a pattern, but something very simple. And what I mean by that is I like for the pieces that require going into that project to be consistent, so that I do not have to overthink it. All of this really comes together because I want to quilt, I want to make beautiful things, but I don't want to have to overthink it. I think a lot and have to make a lot of decisions in my everyday life, between business and having employees and working with students and clients. In my crafting, I don't want to have to do all that. If it requires too much thought, then I will say, well, I'll do it later. And I realized that kept me from doing projects all of the time. So, and it doesn't mean I don't, because I have like big kit projects that I do, and I just give myself a lot of grace as far as how long it will take me to finish, because right now I'm in the season where it's not about finishing. It's about the relaxation and the quiet time and the downtime I get from crafting. So with that said, I went on the hunt looking for scrappy patterns that could become part of my arsenal, that could become part of my, that's all I can say. I don't have another way to say it other than I could just reach for them. I can either, and when I'm done, when I'm doing it, I don't have to have anyone in mind. I don't have to, whether it's a client or a friend or a family member or anything, I can just enjoy and be in the moment of making it. And then once I'm done, I can do anything else after that, because I've had a lot of enjoyment and pleasure from the process. So that's what got us here today. So with that said, and me thinking about how I want to create content on my channel that feels right and that will make me excited about consistently making it, I thought I would start bringing some of that with here to my channel. And I may even include this little clip in multiple videos so that it is kind of known before moving forward. And today I just found a winner. At least I think I have. So up to this point, I have purchased a few, and I may even do, that's what I'll do. I'll do a little video of the ones that I had to go with this. That's what I'll do. But the reason why I'm recording today, y'all getting my editing and all of that in this. Y'all, your girl gotta do what your girl gotta do. But I found this beauty. I was on a Facebook group for Scrappy. Again, now I'm realizing I just love scrappy quilts. So I'm always just perusing with that same thought in mind. Something that looks simple, that is consistent, that looks easy enough where I can do my own version of it, even if I keep the pattern the same. And what I mean by that is I find that having consistent pieces makes putting together a scrappy quilt much easier for me, because anytime I'm finished with a project, I can just cut that same piece size or piece sizes at the end with the scraps, and that's the direction that I'm moving in. And so this particular one would allow me to do that, but it has an additional bonus. I can clearly see that this could be a project where you could do strip piecing, or you can do something like having fat quarters and cutting those into strips, and then putting those together and piecing this really fast. My intention is not to do strip piecing. My intention is to be able to pull together any scraps I have and build blocks over time. And that is another aspect of this big, if you want to call it a project or challenge or just this ongoing thing that I do, which is there are certain quilts that I'm essentially making, probably going to make over years, until I have enough blocks put together that I can then begin to assemble a top. So I have this beauty, and I'll show it to you in a second, but I must add here, Going with this mindset of that it can get finished whenever it gets finished means that you sort of have to do planning. What my sense of planning has been, creating containers and sections in my quilt studio that have those base pieces already cut in there. Also deciding what that base piece is in size. And it took me some playing to get to that point. And I definitely can talk more about that if you guys want to hear about that. But making that decision, and then making a decision of how you will store them over the course of time. So I purchased containers. Now, this particular quilt, I think the size may be too big. Honestly, no. I was gonna say I think the size may be too big because my containers are 12.5 inches. But looking at this, it could easily, here's what the block looks like. And I could easily make those strips in between a different size so that in the end, the finished block is a 12.5 inch block. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this particular quilt, and I'm going to change this to a different angle. And then you're gonna watch me over time pull this baby together. I don't think that I will, I won't do, this will be a vlog style because it's gonna take time. However, I will, when it's all done, bring it back because it just means that I don't have this long, it can be an ongoing project, but without a deadline looming out in front of me. So with that said, I'm going to change this camera angle so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. And here we go. So here we go. We're going at a new angle. I found this pattern on Pinterest, I believe. I saved the link. And so when this, I will share the link in the description. But I saved the link and I'm going to just show you this pattern. We're looking at it now in Adobe. And so I'll just share you with you what I'm really loving about this pattern and what my thoughts are as we move forward. So let me move myself to the side and here we go. Isn't she a beauty? I'm absolutely loving the fact that this could be either a jelly roll or it could be fat quarters done in strips. It could be done stripped. It could be done individually pieced. It just feels like there's so many options with the base of this pattern. And I saw this first and I was like, okay, this is my style. So let me show you that once I actually came in, I'm leaving all of this here. I'm not going to touch any of that, of course, and I'll just link directly to this. I could not find the actual blog, but yeah. So here's all of this, the requirements. All of this, whenever I'm doing this type of project, I don't pay much attention to it. And the reason why I don't pay attention to it is because I've already have a set size when it comes to, actually I always feel so odd because I don't know where to look. I'm sorry. I don't pay much attention to this for my purposes and my needs because I've already determined my base size. So for this one, my base size is going to be 2.5. If it's 2.5, then the numbers and the measurements that they give me will not be correct. And I'm okay with that. And I'll show you why. But that's why if you decide to do anything like this, you've got to pay attention to multiple factors of things like, I'll show you what I look for. Okay. I don't even look at the constructions, the cutting, none of that. First of all, if you've been around long enough, you know your girl likes to wing it. I'm okay with it. It's stuff, I already have the fabric. I already got the background fabric. Nothing's going to get hurt, harmed, or damaged in the testing of this process, okay? So I don't look at any of this. I don't look at the yardage requirements, none of that. Now, every once in a while, I'll look here, like how they said for this one, that basically it was 1,600 squares. But what's amazing about this, because I do it over time, if I look at that number, that is insane. But because I'm doing it over months and over a year or however long, you don't feel the effects of that. All you feel the effects of is a one single block getting completed. And that's what I love about this project for me. Okay, not this one in general, but this project of how I'm doing these scrappy quilts, to be able to maximize on my enjoyment and minimize on the spin. Well, I don't know if it's minimal, but you know how it goes. That's it. Okay. So what I then do is I like to look at the overall quilt, but then I like to spend some time looking at the actual individual block that it's made up of. I try my best to find patterns that only have one block type. If there's multiple block types, then you have to start thinking about an actual pattern and layout and fabric requirements and all of that. So I try to find quilts that are made up of one block. The other thing that I like to do is I like for that one block to be 12.5 inches if possible, because it suits well for my container. If it's bigger than that, then I will just potentially find a bigger container. But if I've been able to carry off 12.5, and it makes it work in general. Okay. Because I just get the scrapbook containers that people put scrapbook paper in, and it just does perfect. They stack well, they're easy to go in different places, it keeps it protected, and it just works. And you can get a lot of blocks in there, a lot of blocks. Okay, so here it suits my need for using my base size, which is 2.5 inches. You could, even with this particular one, do 3.5 if you wanted to. You could do it even bigger at 4.5, but the bigger you go, the less I think it looks not as good, because the blocks get too big, and it makes it hard if you want to make decisions like, do you want to quilt as you go? Do you want a long arm? Do you want to do your free motion quilting on your domestic machine? So it just changes a lot of factors. But in general, anything for me between 12 to 14 inches is ideal, because then when you're putting it together, you can put together maybe 3 of them with some borders and have a baby quilt, 4-ish or 5, and you can get to something whether 4-ish could be a throw, 4 to 5 could be a throw, 6 to, you know what I mean? Like, it's easy to see how to scale without having to have the exact numbers until you have a lot of blocks. And as I get enough blocks, or I'm feeling like what I want to put as far as the color spectrum, I'm working through that, then usually that's when I start looking at the actual logistics. But I can usually sketch that out on my iPad or a piece of paper and pen, or I think it out on my phone. I don't get into like a lot of hard numbers, because again, this is something that's going on over time. And so usually once I say I like it, I'll put in my mind roughly what my dimensions will be. Will it be 3x4? Will it be 6x7? Do I want to leave it square? All of that can come with time. Okay. So with that said, let's keep going. This would fit my standard block size. For this, I would do 2.5. The biggest considerations would have to be ensuring that the background fabric is in the actual colored strips. Again, this does look like it would work well for fat quarters. If you have a set of fat quarters, if you have jelly roll, any of that, this looks like it would fit perfectly for that. I don't plan to do it like that. I plan to just do true scrappy from my bin of 2.5 inch squares, but you could do that. I would say just by looking at this, you would still want it to be a square piece. You do not want it to be a rectangle piece. And then what I would do is go through and make notes. And on this, I'm not doing it here, but I would send it to my iPad and take hand notes in all of these columns. So I would understand, like I would mark this as row 1, row 2, row 3, and then these are repeats. They're just mirrors. So you would need 2 of 1, 2 of 2, 1 of 3 per block. You could even decide if you wanted to do it bigger, of just doing those, repeating those 3 strips, and then putting together 5 and then putting a safety pin or a binder clip and put it in your container and just work those up. And then when you get enough of them, sew them together, put the blocks back, go do another set, work those up. Put a clip. I will put just a straight pin at the top to pin them together, so it'd be 5 strips together, and then put it in my container, work those up. And then when it's time to me to make a bunch of blocks, maybe somewhere around 6 of them, maybe 9 of them, I will put them up on my design board and have a day of where I make up 9 blocks at a time. And that is what makes this really great. I can take a 15-minute break and work up a couple of these strips, maybe even all of them, and have a really good time doing it, listening to an audiobook, listening to music, watching a show, and I'm in my happy place. Okay, so it does meet those requirements. When it comes to this background fabric, because the background fabric is a part of the design, and it is what makes this look almost like pixelated. What I would do in this case is pick a standard background. So I have some standard backgrounds that I keep on hand by the bolt. I would pick those. So something like black or white or cream. I would not pick something that has a pattern or anything like that, because if you run out, it's easy to replace. I had some at Joann's that I used to love and get over and over again. Some of them have been discontinued. So I think once all of the fabric that I have right now is complete, I may go to something like Kona's, because Kona is pretty consistent with their color selection. But for now, I would use just what I have. Because in these cases, I like to use a tonal. It just adds a little bit more dimension to it, and it's not so basic. But in this case, because it may happen over time, it may be that it just is what it is, and it's a white fabric, and then I can move from there. And so in this case, what I probably would end up doing is going in my background fabric and cutting some strips and cutting the squares and having a bunch of them already pre-cut and put them inside the container where I would put the finished the finished blocks, so that I wouldn't have to think about that for a really long time. So I usually make a lot. And it could be that you count like 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm not even considering at this point, y'all, I'm sorry, my nose is itching. I'm not even considering these background strips at this point. I would just be more concerned with the color strips. Let's just call it the color strips. These color strips right here. And once I made the decision about those, then I'd make the decision about these. And in this case, because the finished block in this situation, they're saying it's 14 inches, I probably would, I would get the measurement from this row to this row and not this final row. The final row probably could be added on once I'm actually putting it all together. That's what I would do, so that it would still fit in my 12.5-inch container. And any decisions that I make, like what I'm telling you right now, would all be notated on this document inside my iPad, or I take notes in my phone and just put the quilt pattern title, and I have running notes as I work on the project, so it makes it easy to pick up and put down, which is really important for me since it's over time, right? You don't want to make a decision that goes against previous decisions, especially when I'm already changing the design elements as far as the piecing is concerned. So here's the final layout. It's saying 42, but it also is doing 2-inch squares. So I'm pretty sure I would have a lot less. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 6 by 7. So I'd probably end up doing 5 by 6, because it will be larger by a 1/4 inch. This is why I don't like doing that part. I ain't even gonna lie. I wouldn't even go that far. I would just make the number. So in this case, I wouldn't really start thinking about final design choices until I had at least 35 blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or would I do it by 5 by 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 by 7. And I would do 5 by 6. So until I had 30 blocks done. That's when I would start thinking. Now, because my default is usually larger than smaller, I may even just do this exact thing of 42 blocks, because I usually like to have it to where it could be comfortable on a queen or king size bed as a default. So that, with that said, I would do the 42 blocks. I would keep going until I had the 42. And if I wanted to even make this even more like my aesthetic, I would, so what I'm looking for now is clear lines. That's the line. That's the row. So it could be to give it a little bit more space, instead of making the ends that 1.5, which is what, 1 1/4 finish, 1.5, meaning 1 inch finish. Yeah. Ooh. I would probably make that bigger so that the background space would be a little bit more prominent. And that means I probably could, when it's all said and done, have a king size quilt size without making a whole lot of adjustments, just using those final things. So it could even be that these center strips are the same size, which I don't think I would do same size. I think I would leave it at the 1.5, but make the end ones a little bit larger. So I'll think about that. So I would not put the end ones on at this time. I would just do the strips. And then once I get like enough to do a row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'd work in sets of 6. And then this will work up really fast. So that, yeah, that's what my plan is. I'll work in 6. I don't know why my nose is itching. I don't know why my face is itching. I'd work in the 6. That's what I would do. Okay. So with that said, in this particular pattern, you can look at the different options. You can kind of read, of course, how the designer did this, but I've already kind of made my decisions. This makes it look so busy and different, and like it's a lot harder than it probably is. It makes it really exciting. Another option that would be so super dope when you look at it like this are these end blocks right here. Making those a similar or same color so that they would pop. So what block would that be? These 4 right here. So all the ends. Are the other ones doing the same thing, or is it the color? Oh no, these 2 and then 4. Yeah, I will work on doing that intentionally. That the 4 and the 2. Okay, so here's how I think about this, and y'all know that this is, I have no caveat for the fact that I just like doing stuff. So can we just accept that? Okay, please and thank you. So in this case, if I was doing it super scrappy, I would aim to make those red blocks all the same exact fabric. And these blue blocks right here, these 2, so these 4 the same color, these 2 the same color. And I would cut a lot of them and sit them off to the side. And then once I lay out the first one, I'd be very intentional. Oh, so I see what it is. It's these 2 for the same exact strip. Isn't it the same exact strip? It's not. Ooh, okay, let's look. This is the same. You know what? This is a misrepresentation because this is not the same block as this. See how people are doing? Okay. Because they did one thing here, which is different than what they did here. So what I would do is I would take this design and I'd print this in black and white, this particular page, and I would identify where are my repeat colors. My repeat colors would be this 4. You know what? Another thing, this isn't even the same block. It can't be, because look at that. Girl, okay, let's back up. Let's back up. Yeah, it's not. So I wouldn't pay much attention to this. This is the only thing I would look at this for is the orientation. So what I would do is I'm going to print this. I'm going to print. I am going to, you know what? I'm going to keep you here with me while I do it so you can see what I do. Let's see. I am going to, I have it up on my other screen in Adobe instead of the Adobe Online. I'm going to go to the actual page, this one, and I'm going to save this as a image. I'm learning EQ8. Once I really get the hang of it, it's going to make a lot of this better. But for now, it's more so of a thing of, I don't want to do this. I don't like that. Hold on. I'm going to try one more time. Okay, this was right. Export. Because normally what I would do is I just draw it. But I want to get better. Edit a PDF. I want to export as PDF, save as, choose different. My patterns, quilting, Scrappy, dots. And I'm going to do as images. I'm going to do it as a PNG so that it's highest resolution as it can be. And I'm going to just do this as a folder. And I'm going to say pages. I'm going to just put... create the folder, and now I'm going to put it in here. And then I'm going to do it as PNG. I'm going to hit save. Perfect. It's here. There we go. And we need this page. I'm going to take that page and I'm going to open it in Photoshop. And now what I'm going to do is see if I can do this quickly. Sometimes this goes. This is something that you really shouldn't have to do. If you follow the directions, you wouldn't have to do it. But being that I'm... this is what happens when you go YOLO. And I'm all good. It just is what it is. Let me see if it'll let me do quick selection. I'm deselecting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it manually. Because the reason why I want to do this manually is because I need to be able to distinguish between my background fabrics. I want to do a stroke of black. There we go. And I want to make the stroke a little bit bigger so it can at least and then I want to do the feel as white, and let's see if that did it. It did. Perfect. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm gonna put it in the space of the background pieces. And then instead of, if I do it in black and white, it won't show as color. So what I'm gonna do instead is fill it, if I can fill it with a pattern. Here we go. And doing this, do you have to do all this? No. This is why you buy patterns. And remember, like, if you do anything like this, you could even do this in Canva or something. The thing about this is the fact that it doesn't have to be perfect. You're not giving this to anybody to see. But my thing is, I'd rather take the time to do this on the front end. I'm just duplicating these by doing Command J because I'm on a Mac. And I'm just duplicating them in the same spot, and then I'm putting all of these in place so that when I print this as a black and white, I can either print it and do a physical copy of it and put it in my container, which I probably will do. I also could just save it in my iPad as a image with my notes. I'm gonna do that. Now we have that. So now we have all the background colors in place. So that could be any color. Then now we need to take the the last part with all of this is, like, I try my best to not have to do a whole lot of thinking once I get started. So here we go. Do you have to do all this? No. I'm going to make this available, not this portion because it's someone else's directions. But what I will do, let's just go ahead and make this a handout for you, okay? Let me go ahead and do that now. Just know that if you download this, it is not going to be in like the appropriate portions. I mean, like, you know, dimensions. So there you have it. I'm going to print this up, and this will be something that will be part of this process. This is just video one, and so know that stuff will come over time. I'll do my absolute best to string them together as far as videos are concerned, but this will be my style because it will be it will allow you to see what I'm working on. But also, if you want to do it as well, you can do that. But I'm also sharing some of the resources that I'm giving you right now versus it being later, and it may or may not be available. So what my plan to do is I am going to print that up, and I'm also going to send that along with the pattern to my iPad. But I put this pattern as well as the page that I plan to color, I will put that at the bottom of my container so that when I pick up the container, I know exactly what I'm working on in there. And so I will do that. Also, I will work in rows with those strips. So let me go back to show you real quick. So what I will do when I'm working on this, because it is over time, is I've already determined my base block. My base block is going to be 2.5 inches. I'm not going to make the decision on these strips yet. So I guess since I am looking at this, these strips right here, I'm not going to make any sort of decision on these yet. I'm not going to do anything with these. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, so this, this. I'm not doing anything with those yet. What I'm going to do instead is work on these strips right here. Right here. These babies. So I'm going to do them. So all of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to assemble those knowing that, I'm going to put this on this side. Knowing that these two are the same, these two are the same. So if I were to actually mark this up, which I am, I mean, we already have it. A1, And I'm also finishing this up because I have a quilting, my quilting BFF, and she's more than my quilting BFF, but I'm going to share this with her. Okay, so this is this and this. These are the same. And then I'm going to do this one. And I hope you see, as you're watching me do all this, why this makes it so much easier. You do this once, and you really don't have to come back to this stage of thinking until it's time to do your layout. And what's so super dope about that is you can just keep making the blocks because it just for giggles and grins, and then do whatever you want to do with the blocks. I mean, yeah. I'm going to just do one more. So this means we'd make A1, you need 2, B1, you need 2, and C, you need 1 per block. I would say that if you decide to use this portion of it, I would maybe put the answers in pencil instead of doing them in ink. So there we go. That would be your marching orders. You could do this so you know what your base is. You could even, if you're putting it in your container, you could put swatches on it if you want to. Particularly in this case, I would only do the background fabric. You could do that, but I'm not going to do all that. I'm going to cut all of the background pieces, since just a bunch of them of a white color, and any ones that I don't use would just go in my scrap bucket. But I do know that I would do these strips. I would do 5 of them, and I would pin them with the straight pin and just lay them as stacks inside of my container. And then when I get a lot of them and I just want to just do a bunch of assembly, I would put them out on my design board, and then I would sew up together the whole thing. And so usually when I'm doing a block like this for the first time, I will do the entire block, and then I would think about doing multiples, because then you can decide on what's your cadence. Do you want to have these strips a certain size? And you can do all of it without having to do a huge calculation. With that said, if you change these base blocks, and y'all, listen, I do not teach this. This is just how I would wing it, okay? If you change the base size of these blocks, the first one that I would do is C. I would do C, get the measurement, and that would tell me the measurement that I would need it to cut those background strips. And I would just cut enough to do 1 block. Now, you can't do what I was thinking. If you did it as a square, you could. If you had odd number, you would have 1 center block. You could always do the one that you do first a little bit different, like with different background fabric, and that could be the center block. Ooh. I have an amazing idea in my head. And this is how good ideas come together. Okay, I'm going to play with it and see if it works. Because I'm going to play with it and see if it works. So, that's what you would do. You would go through, I'd suggest doing C, whatever size you do. Whether it's 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, 1.5. Remember that when you do it, that when it's ultimately done in the design, that you're going to have a 1/2 inch difference because of the 1/4 inch seam. So if you do 1.5, it's going to go down to 1, which will make your blocks really, really tiny. I wouldn't recommend going any smaller than 2 inches, and most people are going to probably automatically have 2.5 inch strips. Whether it's from jelly rolls or you have charm packs that you cut into 4s, it's just usually a pretty standard size. If you don't do pre-cuts, then you wouldn't, but you can make up your own sizing. So I would do that middle strip, sew it together, press it without stretching, press it good. In this case, I would press it, being honest, I would press it with the seams open for this one at least, so I can get a good measurement. Pardon me. And then what I do is I'd sew it, I'd make the measurement, I'd cut enough background fabric just to make this 1 block. Then I would do my B's and my A's. I would assembly the whole block. And then on here, you can add your finished block size. Ooh. How to keep the healing. Put the goal there, the block count, so you can put that there. And here I'm going to put, no, not finished block size, block size. I'm not going to say finished block size because technically you won't know the finished block size. It would be a rough estimate, but you could still get the pieced block size. And because the finished would be the ½ inch smaller, right? So I'm just going to say pieced block size. And the reason why I want you to have that on your sheet is because then when you get a bunch of them and it's time for you to decide what size do you want your block, it will be easier to tell. Now you could put your finished block size too. If you put your finished block size, then it'll be easier for you to be able to figure out what size you're going for, and how many blocks you need, and that will go into your block count goal. So whether it's 42 or 30 or whatever number, and then this bottom number would always probably be your penciled in number of how many you have. And these I like to have, but I can tell you, to be quite honest, I never really have it. If I have an estimate size that I think I want to make the block, once I have that number, I will tend to either pin them to the full complete blocks, pin them, or I will put the binder clips and just clip them, or a straight pin. So it'd be like whatever that row is, I would have 6 blocks pinned. So then I can always do a quick count of where I am. So I can look at my container and I can just lift those sets and know how many rows I already have at a minimum. And so that is how I would wing this project. And so with that said, I am going to share this with you guys. This is kind of what I have in mind. I'll come back with updates. I will share this with you guys. I'm going to actually save it right now so I will not forget. And I will share this as a download that you can just download for yourself. If you decide to do it, definitely let me know. And what I will do is when I come in for my updates, I will give you an update on where I am periodically, knowing that, again, it may be a while, because that's just how my situation is situating. So I will keep you guys posted as I move forward. But this is going on the rotation. So I'll have my Irish chain. I will have this dots and dashes, and I'm working on a kit. And so that's nice little balance. I can mix it up, keep it pretty cool. Now what I know I need to do is cut up some 2.5 inch squares, and so that I have enough diversity, and just kind of fill up my little bucket. And in the next version of this that I will do on this dots and dashes, I will just show you some of my setup in my studio, and just knowing that this will be just strung out over time. And so yeah, let's keep in the comments about what's going on and how you're doing. And I will see you all hopefully sooner than later. If you haven't done so already, make sure that you thumbs up on this video, that you have subscribed to my channel. Let me know what you're working on. Let me know if you have any questions, and also let me know how you like this style of video. I can let you probably know that I won't make a lot of adjustments in the beginning, but this makes it so that I can bring you along while being really busy and then doing minimal updates in the middle, but being able to reference this video for you if you decide you want to do something similar. Also in the description, I'll be able to link the original pattern and the free download for the sheet that you can color or make changes to, and we'll take it from there. Okay, so have a fantastic day. I'll see you guys hopefully sooner than later. Your girl is out. Goodbye.